Yo, what's going on, fam? It's your boy, Anthony O'Neill, and welcome back to the table, where here we have a real, relevant, and
relatable. Relevant, relatable, whatever you want me to say. Relevant.
conversation. I got to get my boy Connor on this game. He got to be ready for whatever I do. But for today, y'all, we're going to have a great conversation with two dear friends of mine. You all know them as His and Her Money. I know them as Talaat and Tai. They are the hosts of the great podcast, the one and only, the His and Her Money show, and authors of Money Talks, the ultimate couple's guide to communicating about money. What I really love about these two are two financial educators that are on a mission to get individuals and couples on the same page financially. And we've seen them on The Essence. Now, we've seen them in Black Enterprise. We've seen them on MSN. And you know what? You're going to see them today on my show, right here on the table. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, 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 my fam. His and Her Money, my brother and sister, Tai and Talaat. What's going on, man?
Hey.
What's going on, Anthony?
Yo, listen,
We're super glad.
I was telling my producer, Connor, I said, Connor, these people have had me on the show at least once a year. And I've been doing this thing for like 4 or 5 years now. So I got to get them on the show. I got you know.
Oh, my gosh.
Man.
Well, we're happy to be here.
Long overdue. We're excited.
Man, I'm so excited. And thank you all, honestly, for coming on. You all are generals in the financial space, in the ministry space over there at All Nations. And I just love everything that you two are doing. And so I just really want to bring you all on. But about a couple of years ago, you all did something that was weird. You all paid off your mortgage. And I remember following you all's journey from when you was paying off into when you went to the bank and paid it all off. Why, as I'm going to be real with you all on my show, why as minorities, African-American couple, why did you all decide to go that route of being completely debt-free?
I think you just said it. We're an African-American couple. And when we had it in our heart to do this, there weren't a lot of examples that looked like us that were saying, hey, we own our house. We saw a lot of examples from other races, but we wanted to be, because by nature, we're very private people.
Very.
And said, but we was like, no, we have to take people on this journey so that they can know we're going to put in this blood, sweat, and tears, and we're going to do it publicly so other people can know that this can be their reality too. And it absolutely has. We get stopped all the time in real life. We get messages all the time online saying, I didn't even think that was a thing until I saw you do it.
Wow. Man, you know what? Going back to the beginning of y'all's journey to become debt-free, who started that? I got to ask that question. It was my sister.
No.
She's been debt-free her whole life.
Yes, true.
She came out the womb debt-free.
True.
She's been living debt-free ever since. And then I came along and messed this thing all up.
No, I would say that it was both of us. We actually remember watching Dave when he was on Fox Business.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, and he mentioned owning your home. And we were like, wow, like we didn't hear anybody do that. We didn't know anyone personally that did that in our lives at the time. And so it just always stuck in the back of our mind. I like the ability to have freedom.
Yeah.
I don't like to owe a man anything but love, as the Bible says. And so having a mortgage, in my opinion, it felt heavy. And we didn't know what the future was going to bring. We didn't know that Tyler was going to come off his job eventually, and we were going to be full-time in our company. And so I like the ability of not owing anybody anything so we can own our own lives, so we can have flexibility on our terms.
Anthony, do you know what the term mortgage means in this original language?
Original language, not educators, brother, and I'm a finance guy.
Okay.
Let's go.
It means death pledge.
Yep.
Go look it up in the ancient Latin history of that word. That's how land was passed from people to people, was after they passed away. And as you can see, we're signing up for, most people, 30-year mortgages. If you are a follower of Dave Ramsey, 15-year mortgages. But still, that's 1/2, 1/3, 1/4 of your life you are signing up for payments.
Yeah.
And so we decided we were not going to do that. So from the moment that we entered into this mortgage process, we said we are never, ever going to make a minimum payment on this house. Number one, that was our pledge. Number one, against the death pledge. Pledge number two,
Yep.
Pledge number 2 of ours against the death pledge was we're not going to wait to pay this house off 30 or 15 years.
Come on, man.
We're going to pay it off in 5. Now, Anthony, when we said this, when we made this pledge, we were not in position circumstantially to do what we said we were going to do. There was a whole lot of transition going on.
Yeah.
I just started a new job.
Yeah.
Your father had
My
passed.
dad had passed away. We just were having baby number 3. We just bought a new vehicle in cash, by the way.
Yeah.
There you go.
And there was just a whole lot of question marks as to what our monthly cash flow would look like. So when we made the statement, like we're never going to make a minimum monthly payment, it's not like we had a bunch of cash extra just sitting around, but we were making a declaration by faith and saying that we are going to do what we got to do to get out of this. Now, in that moment, we couldn't make this big, large commitment. So you know what we did? We made a commitment for an extra $20 principal on top of our minimum payment. All we could squeeze out consistently was an extra 20. But we called our lender and we made that extra 20 come out automatically to keep in alignment with what we said we were going to do. So some people think you got to have this windfall, this inheritance come out the sky, and then you can get out of your mortgage.
Win the lottery
we call it the mustard seed.
Yeah,
Sometimes you just got to have a mustard seed of faith, and the rest will begin to snowball.
Man. Yo, if y'all just now tuned in, you tuned in at the table where we have a real, relatable, and
relevant
conversation. And we have my brother and sister, his and her money, right here. I would probably say, outside of myself and my team, the top financial experts out there. I just love having a conversation with them. They just taught me something, you know, a death pledge. I have a death pledge right now. Y'all just made me upset at my mortgage.
Well, that's what it's got to be. That's what it takes. You just say you hit the nail on the head. For a lot of people, they're up against it when it comes to debt. It may not be a mortgage. It might be student loans. It could be car loans. But you have to have a hatred for the situation. In order for you to gain that traction, in order for you to have the longevity for the battle, you got to have that hatred up front.
Absolutely.
Listen, man, my goal was 7 years, pay off my house within 7 years. And I think I'm going to cut that in half. And I just purchased something the other day. I think I may send it back and put that on top of my debt pledge.
You know everybody's going to want to know, what did you purchase, Anthony?
Hey, I'll tell y'all off the line.
Okay.
That's no one else's business.
Okay. I think 7 years is great, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a start. And it's still a commitment.
Yeah.
So 7 years to be able to pay off your mortgage in 7 years is still a big deal.
And I think that's what it starts with. It starts, as you just stated, as we previously stated, sometimes you just got to say it out loud to yourself first.
Yeah.
In order for you to be able to take action, you got to say it out loud, because when you hear it, you know, it does something to you. Like, you know what, I'm getting rid of this mortgage. I'm getting rid of this mortgage in 7. I'm getting rid of this mortgage in 10. They're not going to get 30 years out of me. They're not going to get 15 years out of me.
And let me tell you something, Anthony, like sometimes you don't realize the work that you're putting in up front, how it's going to affect you later.
Wow.
So we know what's going on with the big, huge pandemic. People have lost their jobs, unfortunately, and things like that. But to be able to come into the pandemic and not have a worry, we take care of 3 babies, right? Our oldest is 10, youngest is 6. And so they eat. They love to do sports and things like that. And so to be able to come into the pandemic without having the stress of finances was huge.
Because there's a lot of other stuff we can be stressed about right now.
Yes. I feel like it lit even a more bigger fire in me to be able to tell the whole wide world, get out of debt.
Yeah.
We don't know what our future is going to hold. And the truth of the matter is, if we think this is bad, we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold, right? And so the only thing that you can control is your spending and how you spend your money and how you take out, if you take out debt, as mortgage and things like that. But get out of debt. Like, get out of debt. Don't do it tomorrow. Start today.
I got to ask you all this question. It's not really necessarily around money, but you brought it up a little bit with everything that is going on right now with the pandemic, coronavirus. They say that the pandemic it affects people who look like us a lot more. With the racism things that are just popping up left and right. It just seems like every single day a new video is coming out. And how are you all feeling? How are you all dealing with this as, 1, African-Americans, 2, parents of African-American kids that are growing up in this culture? And then 3, I want to ask this question from a spiritual perspective, because you two are leaders in your church, predominantly African-American strong, one of the strongest up-and-coming churches in the world. How are you all coping with this in the midst of still building wealth, in the midst of still going after your dreams? How are you two feeling?
So it's been up and down. It's been a roller coaster because, you hit on a lot of the reasons why. We're, number one, we're humans. We're a man, we're a woman. Yeah. But we also have a big influence on people. The words that we say, the words that we post impacts people because of the influence that God has given us. Yeah. So it's been tough. In certain points, we had to unplug from social media, the news, just to kind of gather ourselves, because again, the weight that our words hold, we didn't want to speak out of the heightened pain point that we were feeling. Because one thing that we've shared with people who have engaged us, people are Caucasian and other races who wanted to engage us in this conversation, is this: when we look at these cases on TV, when we see these stories, we don't just see George Floyd. We don't just see Ahmaud Arbery. We don't just see Breonna Taylor. We see ourselves. We see our cousins. We see our parents. And we feel it. We don't just see it. And so the emotions of it became a lot for a little while, that we had to just kind of detach. But we came back to, lend our voice, lend our perspective, lend our opinion, because you can't run away from this conversation. This is a God-ordained conversation. This is something that he orchestrated before time began, that we were going to reach this fever pitch and we were going to have a talk about what's going on, systems that are in place, injustices that are current. We are going to have to talk about it. And for us, we wanted to talk about it not just from emotion. We wanted to talk about it. You still have the emotion of it because it's a real reality that we've been living through, not just hearing about, but living through. I've had personal experiences. She's had personal experience of injustice, of discrimination. Yeah. And so when we speak of this, we're not speaking from a third party or from a vantage point that we're not familiar with. And so it's been a challenge to make sure.
And a responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's the
that we have to speak on it. And so we used our platform that God has given us to be able to speak on it. And so we've had videos, we've had conversations around racial injustice. One of the most difficult parts for me was being a mom and having to share this with our children.
Have that talk.
And not necessarily being able to share on our own timing and our own terms.
Yeah,
like
we were forced here.
We were forced to do it. And again, our son, we have one boy, he's 10 years old and he's extremely smart, very intellectual. But I told him the first thing that people are going to see is the color of your skin. They're not going to know that you're above the district, right? That your grades is at this level and things like that. First, you are a Black man. And so we had to have the race conversation with them. We had to have the love conversation. We've also had to tell them to pray for those that don't love others. And so, that was probably the most difficult thing for me, was my children.
Yeah. For the first time, I was like, I'm grateful I'm single without any parents. I mean, without having any kids right now, and without being a parent, because my brother and my brother-in-law and sister had to have a real conversation with my 6-year-old and 7-year-old nephews. And I'm like, they're too young for this kind of conversation. We should not have to have this conversation right now. And it was just sad. But I really wanted to just get you all's thoughts on it, because you all are two influential individuals out there who are speaking to a lot of lives. And I just want to hear what you were thinking and saying. But let's give the people right now watching some practical things they could be doing. You guys know me. I'm very big on getting out of debt and building wealth. And you all are the same way. So I want to go through what are the top 5 or 6 things we can do right now in the midst of the crazy times that we're in the midst of this pandemic. What are some things we can still do to build wealth? What's the number one thing? And, I don't know what y'all going to say, so we may agree or disagree. So let's have a conversation. Right. But what's the number one thing y'all would say to build wealth?
Debt freedom, number one. Debt freedom allows you to free up money in your budget to be able to use in things such as investing and even starting businesses. So for us, it's debt freedom. You got to get out of debt. Yeah. We're sort of just like you guys, far as like the mortgage Has to be done, but it doesn't have to be done with the consumer debt up front in order to build wealth. But you do need to get out of debt. You do need to come up with a debt-free plan. We believe in the debt snowball as well as one of the easiest ways to kind of get small wins underneath you. So for us, debt freedom, number one.
Yeah, you got to understand, people don't connect that, right? Debt freedom, build wealth. But you got to understand, every dollar that you pay towards your debt causes your net worth to go up because you're moving from the negative to the positive. So it has a direct correlation on your ability to build wealth.
I won't say this individual's name because I love this individual, but this individual said, just because you're debt free doesn't mean you will build wealth. And I was like, I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. But when you become debt free, you have a solid foundation to build your wealth on. And so I believe that if you're building money over here and you're racking up all this debt over there, you don't have any wealth. You're not building any wealth because now the money you're making is being consumed by this over here. So my number one, I agree with you all, is to really become debt free because we know the studies. Nearly 80% of us live in paycheck to paycheck. And if we really break it down to the minority culture, it gets worse. And so I think when we really, really, really want to lay a solid foundation is to build, it is to be debt free.
It's the only part of the equation that you control.
Yes.
Because there are several ways to build wealth that all involve risks, that all involve things going a certain way.
Yeah.
When we'll talk about some of those as we go. But when it comes to debt freedom, you're in complete control because you have the ability to pay off the debt at whatever rate that you choose. When it comes to investing in some of these other ways, you have to put money in hopes of a certain return. You're not completely in control. The debt freedom part, you have control over.
This is why her money's on my show, boy. Oh, I'm getting excited about this conversation. I would go back right before you become debt free. I would say, here's zero. You got to have a clear vision for where you want to go in life.
Agreed.
You have to know, because getting out of debt, I know for like myself, it wasn't easy. I'm pretty sure paying off y'all's mortgage, put on that extra money onto it.
Not easy.
It wasn't easy. And some days you're going to get discouraged. Some months you're going to get discouraged. Some people may say, go enjoy life. But you know what? Y'all was on a mission, but you all had a deep why. And one of my deepest why for myself, when it comes to building wealth, which was number one, getting out of debt, it was my mom and dad never had a wedding. She didn't have a ring when she got married, and she's never been out of the country. We never took family vacations. And I said, debt will stop me from that. And I want to build wealth so that way when I get married, I can pay cash for her ring. I can pay cash for the wedding. I could take her on a honeymoon. I could take her on a vacation whenever I want. And I've never been to Disney World my entire life. And so I'm like, okay, when I get kids, the first time I'm going to Disney World is with my family, and I'm going to pay cash for it. So what can come in between me and my dreams? Debt. I got to get out of debt. I have
to. Let me just say that we took our children, we surprised our children and took them to Disney World in January. And it was his first trip. I've been as a little girl. But that was one of our goals and our dream, was that when we paid off our mortgage, we wanted to take our kids to Disney World.
Come on now.
And so we were able to do that. We got it on tape and everything, how we surprised them. They thought that we were leaving out of town the next day. We told them.
Yeah, we told them that we were going on a trip.
Yeah, we were going on a trip.
To go do work.
So they just thought grandma was coming over here to babysit them while we leave out of town. And we kind of turned on the camera and we told them, you guys are going to Disney World. And that was like the biggest, oh my gosh.
Faces, it was amazing.
Wow.
Man, that was like the biggest reward,
Did it all debt free.
Exactly.
I love it. All right, so we got number one is to be debt free. So I agree with that one. What's number two in y'all's opinion?
So for us, we really believe that when it comes to wealth building, you got to play offense and defense. So number two for us is you have to incorporate life insurance. And we only suggest term life insurance.
I was about to be like, wait a minute, y'all. Y'all talking about whole life or term?
Here we go. Here's why. Because this is something that's not on people's radar. Yeah. But again, you talked about this just now. You said it starts really with a vision for your future, right? Yes. So if you start this journey to debt freedom, to financial freedom, to building wealth, you're not in control of tomorrow. Look at what's going on in our world, right? Who saw this coming? Who saw this pandemic coming?
Yeah.
So the fact that we don't have control over our tomorrow when we're going to leave this earth means that we need to be proactive and put things in place so that if we truly have a desire for wealth to be built, not just for us, but for our kids, for our grandkids, then we need to put things in place in case the Lord calls us home.
Yes.
That the vision that we had for our family continues to move forward. You don't want to get in this game, you're paying off debt, and God forbid something happens, and now your family has to go back to the starting line because you didn't put the proper measures in place. And so that's why we believe, and that's why we did put term life insurance in place.
Yeah, man. I totally agree with you on that. I mean, we're vibing here. This is why we're family.
We're good.
You know, I suggest everyone get term life insurance 10 times your average annual salary. If you have a guaranteed annual salary, get 10 times that. Someone like ourselves, who our income fluctuate, get 10 times your average, 10 to 12 times your average salary. And so,
and don't forget, if one of you is a stay-at-home parent, you need life insurance as well.
Right.
Absolutely. Me and my sister was talking about that. She's a stay-at-home mom. And my brother was like, well, wait a minute. If something happened to you, I'm going to need some help financially, too. So,
there you go.
So, because it's like, I'm going to need a daycare. I'm going to need a babysitter. I'm going to need some help. Like, that's extra expenses. And she was like, okay, let me call my brother so I can get some term life insurance. And you know what, y'all? At the end of this, I'm going to give you all a link to where y'all can just text it, and we're going to give you some places where you can go to how to get out of debt, where to get the term life insurance. So that's good. So this is flowing real good right now. All right, what's number 3? This is good.
So 3 for us is entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship can come in various ways. Again, we like to talk about the pandemic because everyone can relate to that right now. Everybody has been impacted in some way, shape, or form with this pandemic. And to be able to solely focus on your 9 to 5 is not wise. You need something outside of that. And so we tell people, look at your God-given abilities and talents and gifts. I have a sister who does amazing crafts and she's selling on Etsy. So you don't necessarily have to have a brick and mortar. So when we say entrepreneurship, you can look at it as a side hustle as well, but look at some other streams of income to bring into the household.
And here's the truth. It's not just from just the aspect of making additional money, which is 100% true. You should not just be dependent on one way to make money because anything can happen to your job, as we have all found out. But number 2, you got to think about your ability to keep more of your money, right? It's not just about how much money you make, but it's how much you keep. So when you have a business, whether that's a full-time business or a part-time business, a home-based business, there are certain things that you get by law in accordance with the United States tax code that allows you to keep more of your money in-house. Again, that helps you to build more wealth. So that's why we say entrepreneurship should definitely be a part of your plan. It doesn't mean that you have to quit your job and launch this business, but you need to have something else in addition to your 9 to 5 at the very minimum.
Oh, man, we flowing good. You know, one of the things I'm working on right now is teaching millennials how to turn their side hustle into an actual side business. Okay, that's something that my brand leader, Kevin's he and I have been talking about. Like, yo, how do we teach young people how to turn their side hustle? Like maybe they cut grass on the side. Okay, let's turn it into a legit side business to where they can get the tax write-off privileges. They can make some more money. And I believe entrepreneurship is the key to freedom. And so when you have, entrepreneurship in your blood, in your family, one of the things that I really want to pass down to my kids are businesses. I don't never see myself leaving Ramsey Solutions, but I do want to have some businesses where I can leave to my kids,
Absolutely.
And so I think that's something that's important to where like, hey, here's a restaurant, go run it. Or, hey, here's this, go run it. Or if you don't want to run it, you can still benefit from it. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. We're having those conversations with our children now, just trying to kind of see what they're interested in. And of course, I don't want to say every child, but our kids right now, they see YouTube and they see kids doing YouTube videos.
I want to be a YouTuber.
I'm like, that's a lot of work. Mom and daddy do videos. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we're having those conversations with our children now too. And that's important.
Yeah.
Start with your children while they're young.
Yes.
Just the conversations alone bring fruit because you're causing them a way to think different. Because when they go through school, they're going to be taught one track, right?
Yeah.
Go to school, get a job, which is fine for a lot of people. But why not season add to their knowledge base, stretch their brain to think beyond just the typical 9 to 5? What are some ways that I can take the skills and talents that God has given me to bring in extra money too?
Yeah.
Man, listen, y'all, let's keep rolling. What's number 4?
The stock market. I mean, no surprise there. It's just one of the historically the biggest ways to build wealth. For us, we're not personally, we don't dabble in individual stocks. We are big fans of mutual funds. In particular, the type of mutual fund that we like is index funds.
Okay.
Index fund investing is the core of our investing strategy because we're playing for the long haul. We're that part of our plan has to do with us way down the road. And so we don't do it to try to find quick wins or quick gains. We do it with, again, as you have already stated, with the future in mind. So that's how we approach stock market investing.
I agree. Compound interest is your best friend.
Yeah.
Especially,
100%.
I mean,
absolutely.
Why are you sleeping? You making money. I mean, bottom line,
Love it.
I love it. And so
that's what's better than that.
That's
Making
what I'm trying to say.
Money in your sleep.
In your sleep. I mean, what? I'm sleeping. Just made what? I just made some money? For real? Yeah, I talk to my money. Like when I put my money into like my my mutual funds, I every time I transfer, I say, all right, now y'all gonna leave me. Go duplicate. I want twins. I want triplets. I want cousins, aunties, uncles. I want all of them coming back to me because I want a lot more money. So that is superb, Anthony. Yes,
people listening, watching this, here's what you need to know. Not only do you need to be employed, but your money needs to be employed.
Yes,
Not only do you need to be working, but your money needs to be working as well. You don't want to be employed and your money unemployed because you're still setting yourself up for failure.
Your money needs to be your number one employee. I'm gonna leave it right there. Because we talked about being an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
So don't get me started. Anyway. This is some good stuff. All right, so I love it. I'm always suggesting people do 15% of their income into a growth stock mutual fund, or if you're working a job, into your 401k. And so that's real good. So I love that. What's number 5 in y'all's opinion?
Real estate. You got to get in the game of real estate investing again because it's the other historic way that more millionaires have been built.
Yes.
It's the stock market, it's real estate. Now, there are so many different ways that you can invest in real estate. We highly suggest that people research, whether it's wholesale, whether it's fix and flip, whether it's buy and hold, because your personality will mesh best with certain styles of investing. But I highly suggest that you research that because that is a way that more people have increased their net worth over history. I mean, the history bears it out. He who owns the land has the power. It's biblical. Look in the Old Testament. Most of it is about land acquisition. It's even biblical to be possessors and owners of land.
Yes. One of my mentors told me, he said, Anthony, we could build houses, but we can't make any more land.
Yep.
So he was like, Anthony, some of your investments need to be land because people will then eventually, if they don't come to you, if you own the land and you pass it down to your kids, they will come to their kids to eventually purchase the land. And so that's something that I've been doing. I've actually been able to purchase a few acres of land out here in the Tennessee area just because, I'm like, all right, I'm going to listen to my mentor. And so I purchased some. And then next, I'm like, okay. Now I'm looking at, how can I maybe flip some houses? How can I maybe get some real estate and flip them to make some money? Of course, I'm going to do it all cash on my end.
Absolutely.
But it's like, I totally agree that the moment you become debt-free, get you a mortgage. Because Chris Hogan wrote a book called Everyday Millionaire, and he noticed that the majority of his millionaires that he interviewed over 10,000 self-made millionaires, they all had a paid-off mortgage. The majority of them had a paid-off mortgage. So that went towards their net worth, their wealth. I'm like, okay then. So like, I'm getting upset right now thinking about my mortgage, right?
Your death pledge?
My death pledge. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. Like, okay, all right. Y'all have 5. Can I add a 6th one as we end our interview?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I get attacked every time I say this, but I'm a man of faith, and I really don't care what people have to say. I really don't care. But I believe, I wouldn't say 6 as in this is the last one. I think this is by far the first one. But I do believe that tithing and being a generous giver is very important to building wealth, because I just firmly believe that if God can trust me with a few, he can trust me with many. And if he can trust me with, this amount of money, and I give him back his tithe, and I'm being generous to my local church, to my local community, and helping people and giving unto others, then he'll trust me with more. And so I've always taught myself, because I'm going to be real with you all on the show. I was a youth pastor for 10 years. Did I tithe all 10 years? Nope. I started noticing when I started trusting God with his first, that's when God started to elevate my position. That's when God started elevating my money. That's when God started opening up more doors, because it's like, all right, now I can trust you with that. I think tithing and being a generous giver it plays a huge role from a spiritual perspective of building wealth.
Absolutely. We 100%. Agree with that. That's actually part 2 of our next video that we plan to do. But giving has been a part of our lives from the very first day. Even when we got married, we give. First off, it's not our money. It's God's. He entrusted us with it. So yes, we believe in exactly what you believe in. The 10th, we are to give back to the Lord and then some. Yes. Talaat and I have been blessed, and we know without a shadow of a doubt it's because we give.
Yeah. I mean, even when we were doing, no matter the season, we have always been tithers and givers. Wow. And we know that God has honored that, because there was a time where we both had 9-to-5s. There was a time when we both had nothing.
Come on, man.
I was unemployed. She had no job.
Yeah.
And we never felt it. And that was 8, 9, 10 month stint. Right? Not one bill was late. Nothing was past due. We lost nothing. We felt nothing, because we had spent the season before that tough season honoring God with our first fruits. And he honored us. And guess what? We were still giving during that time, just to keep it going. And even past that, into moving into debt freedom and becoming a debt-free family, we will never forsake the tithe. We know without a shadow of a doubt that we stand in the position that we stand financially because we honored God with our first fruits. He got no leftovers from us. No. He got our first fruits.
Man, this has been fun. I mean, we can talk, we can keep going, but I literally only have a 30-minute show, and I think we went over 30 minutes already. And so, I want to thank you all so much. Let the people know, where can they find out more information about you all? And we're going to link all the information below, but where can they find some more info?
You. So you can find us at hisandhermoney.com. We're also on social media, YouTube. We have a podcast called The His and Her Money Show, and you can find everything at His and Her Money.
Yo, go check them out. Subscribe to their channel. I'm telling you, I listen to all their stuff. I watch all their stuff. They will bless you tremendously. But His and Her Money, my brother, my sister, thank you all so much. I will
Thank you, Anthony, and keep doing what you're doing. We watch you as well. You're doing a phenomenal job. God is using you, especially in this season, to be a voice that he can trust.
Keep it going, bro.
Appreciate you all. Love you all.
Love you.
Wow, y'all. Such an amazing interview with my brother and sister, Ty and Talaat. Listen, I want you to text right now. I want you to text the word wealth, WEALTH, to 33789 to get free, let me say this one more time, free resources from today's conversation. We went over a lot of how you can build wealth, and I'm actually going to give you some more resources and break that down even the more, because I want to see you successful. So text the word wealth to 33789. I'll make sure to put that information in the description. And you know what, we're talking about money, so let's keep it going. So today's Zoom in call, and listen, if you want to call in and ask me a question, I want you to hit me up, askao@ramseysolutions.com. askao@ramseysolutions.com. I'll drop that below. But you know what? Let's zoom on over to my boy Turner. Welcome to Zoom In with your boy AO, man. I heard you got a question, so holla at me. Let me know what's your question.
All right, so I've been watching a lot of stuff going on, and I live in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And
man, I'm from Oceanside. I'm not Oceanside, Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. I was born in Fayetteville.
Oh, for real? Man, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I went to Southview High School.
I lived there for like 2 months after I was born, then we moved immediately.
I got you.
My dad was in the Air Force, so we've been all over the place.
Sounds good.
But my question to you is, with everybody getting college degrees nowadays, and I've watched a lot of your videos talking about, stay out of debt and things like that. And obviously, college loans are a huge debt issue. And then when people go to college, they tend to get degrees that never promise to pay out in the long term. I mean, what would be your word to them on what kind of degree do you think they should pursue? I've read some books like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, things like that.
Yeah.
And what would be kind of your word on that? Because I feel like you have pretty good perspective here.
I mean, we got a $1.6 trillion student loan issue going on right now,
Yeah.
And so here's what I recommend. What I'm recommending to people in general, before you even go off to college, the very first thing is you got to do is step back and do the research. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Step back and say, okay, exactly what do I want to do? I am a huge fan of going to college to pursue your career, not going to college just to get a piece of paper so you can have a job. Okay?
Amen.
I want you to have something that, you can do this like a lawyer, doctor, dentist. You could be a welder. You can have your own welding business. But when you step back and do the research, you can identify from there, all right, so should I go to a 4-year university, or should I just go get a certificate, or should I go to trade school, or should I go into the military, get the education and get the experience? And so, that's a great question, man. I feel as if what we have to do as, especially someone of you and I, we have to go out there and teach people to make the right decisions because we're seeing it right now, that the average student is going to graduate about $35,000 in student loan debt. And then they think they'll pay it off 3 years after they graduate college, right? But then isn't it funny that you go to school to get into your profession, but then you spend the rest of your profession paying back your school? That's crazy.
Exactly. It's unbelievable.
So, unbelievable. So I'm a big fan of, if you have to go to college, because not everyone needs to go to college. If you have to go to college so you can pursue your career, pursue your dreams. Do not go to college just to get a job. Don't do it.
Or just to go to college, just for the sake of going to college.
Yeah, man.
That slays me, man. I do feel like my brother actually works at a college. I'm not going to tell you where, just in case somebody sees this and he gets fired or something. But he's all the time, he's like, I think kids just come here for the sake of coming here, not for the sake of, just for I'm supposed to go to college, like kind of what you're saying, without the actual understanding of, what are you doing here? And part of that, I watched a talk recently, and somebody said, before you ever go to college, go shadow some people in careers.
Yeah.
You get a feel for what would be good. High school kids nowadays, it's like they go to school and maybe they work at a fast food joint for a period or something like that, but they have no perspective on what careers are actually out there.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy to me all the types of jobs that exist in the world.
Yeah.
And when you get out there, and I talk to people, I'm like, what do you do for a living? And I know a guy he works for a weight scale company that weighs trucks.
Yeah.
And he makes good money. And I'm like, that's a business? That's a freaking business? And to me, I'm like, that's crazy.
It is real crazy. And I love how you said that there are a lot of jobs out there that people just are not aware of. One of the main websites, and I want everyone who's watching this right now to check this out, especially if you have a high schooler at home. I always recommend findyourcalling.com, findyourcalling.com. This is a website to where young people can go on the website and see, okay, if I get a degree in business, or if I do not have a degree, what are all the options out there for me? And you'll find so many different stuff that I've never even heard of. What is that?
Yeah.
What is this? But it gives you exactly how much they make on an average year. Is a degree required? How long can you pretty much last in it? So it's a real good website that I recommend a lot of young people to go to. So, man, thank you so much, bro. Man, 5 minutes. Zoom in. My man, Turner. Where are you from, Turner? Again,
I'm from Rocky Mount, North Carolina.
Rocky Mount, North Carolina, man. How old are you, Turner?
Yeah. I'm 20. That's a good question. I'm 27.
27.
Yeah, 27.
27
yeah.
young
I
man.
don't know if you can hear my baby. I just had a baby 3 weeks ago in the back room right there. So,
man, congratulations, man.
Hopefully it didn't interrupt you in the noise or anything like that.
No. You good, man. Thank you so much for calling in, man. And, hey, appreciate you,
it,
brother. All right now, man.
Hey, keep up the good work, dude.
You too now. Man, wow. Such a great question from Turner. I love how he's asking the right questions on how do we get the proper education? What should we do? And I'm always saying this, the very first thing when it comes to getting your education, here's the thing. I want you to step back and have a vision. Before you actually go do something, step back and do the research and think about what is it that you want to do? Because not every plan requires the same direction. You understand what I'm saying? So if you want to go off to college, that's great. But if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to college. But if you want to be a carpenter, you don't have to go to college. So great question, Turner. Yo, I want to hear from you. If you want to zoom in and ask me a question, anything about money, life, relationships, goals, mindsets, yo, give me a call. And I would love to just talk with you. You got 5 minutes to come live on my show with me. So hit me up, askao@ramseysolutions.com. We'll drop that email address below, drop it in, and I would love to have a conversation with you. And do not forget, if you're really serious about building wealth, I want you to text WEALTH to 33789. We're going to literally break down all 6 of those things, give you the first steps, give you some free resources that you should check out to get out of debt. How do you get the right term life insurance? How do you actually start building wealth? How do you invest your 15%? So text me. 33789, text the word wealth. And I'm going to see you next week. Because I'm telling you right now, next week, we got something special. I mean, it's fire. It's your boy, Anthony O'Neill, and right here at the table, we have a real, relevant, and
Relatable
conversation. We'll see you next week.